his mom sets him up in the beginning, right? Almost kind of gives him a challenge and says, I want you to go out and enjoy the summer, right? That's his challenge. That's his, that's his mission.
Yeah.
And it sets us up for the rest of the movie. And it poses a question in our minds. We go, is he going to achieve the goal or is he going to fail? And that's what propels the story forward. Hey guys, welcome to this review of The Sandlot. I am Tyler Babb, and I am joined by Matt Zabel. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm very good. Are you excited to talk about this movie? It's taken us a little bit a couple times to do this intro.
Yeah, whatever.
So we're
It's all good,
we're a
dude.
little giggly, but
I'm stoked though because it's a childhood favorite. So
this is a good movie. This is a new show we're doing here on the channel. Matt and I are going to be doing a retro review, reviewing things from our childhood and even earlier in time, back in time.
Back when they had the painted backdrops and stuff.
Painted backdrops,
Mention
you know what I'm
that
saying? We're doing everything. So if you guys have a beloved movie that you want to see us review, drop it in the comments below. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button and that like button. We greatly appreciate it. This is going to be a fun time to dissect and break down the films with Matt. A little background. I work in the industry professionally. And
I do not.
Matt
at all. Fairly amateur.
Right. So that's what's kind of unique and cool, I think, about this show.
I think the dynamics could be fun.
Is there's two sides to the coin, like Two-Face.
Just like that.
Right?
Yeah.
You're Harvey.
Or I was thinking.
And I'm Two-Face.
I was thinking like the Beast.
The Beast, yes.
Yeah. The kids version in the real life version.
In the film.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
Were you talking about Beauty and the Beast?
No. I was talking about the Beast. The dog, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But no, I'm very excited. I think that
the Beast in Beauty and the Beast also has two sides.
He does. What else has two sides?
Who knows? That's a short for sure.
No, I'm excited. I think the idea of you getting to look at it through an industry lens and me as just a pure fan, like what the industry, like I'm part of who you guys make films for, So
right.
It's going to be interesting to get that feedback. And that bounce back between the two of us.
And I think our tastes for films are similar enough, but pretty different.
Yeah.
Right. Like you've talked about how you're going to kind of we're going to watch some films. You've brought up some things where I'm like, oh man,
a musical.
It's not really. I have nothing against musicals, but you brought up one in particular that was not on my radar to really review. But I'm down. I'm down to review kind of anything at this. On this
I'm
show.
I'm excited to see what you bring to me that I've maybe never seen or maybe just didn't even care about in my initial watch. And now that years have passed, we're checking them out again.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Yeah. Exciting. Good stuff.
Well, thank you guys so much for clicking and spending time with us. We will tell you our thoughts about The Sandlot right after this.
Blockhead, geek, jerk, idiot, moron. You bob for apples in the toilet, and you like it. You play ball like a girl. Yeah. I got it. Oh, no.
Is storytelling something like, what's the biggest thing you look for when you're watching a movie? Like what sticks out to you most? Is it the storytelling? Do you feel like that's a big thing for you?
For me, it's different. For me, it's like the structure. One of the major things that I found when I watched this movie was how and we talked about this when we watched it together, was how the pacing was off. Like the acts felt not misused, but the timing was weird. It was like we spent a big chunk in the first act, and like the third act, the resolution and kind of the second act were like super rushed, I felt. But
I think the biggest thing for me, as a kid, I loved it, didn't care about it. But as an adult, I was like, man, we took a long time getting to the ball being launched over the fence.
And I think we both thought that was going to happen a lot sooner than it did.
Yeah,
right?
As my childhood, I remember it basically being like, hey, I can't play baseball. we'll teach you how. Let's play the Little League team. And then immediately the ball goes over the fence. There were so many other scenes that were great scenes and enjoyable scenes. And I don't want to knock that for that. But I felt like, it was an hour, 40-minute film. And I think it was just around the hour mark, maybe a little after, that they finally launched the ball over the fence. And that's like, when you think Sandlot, that's like the big thing you think of is they're trying to retrieve this baseball. So I felt like we'd spend more time there.
Yeah. It was. And then, they had the treehouse scene and like all these really, like you said, these really great scenes.
And they're still feeling iconic.
Right. Which brings me to another thing that I really enjoyed about the film was it felt strange, the pacing, but we got to spend so much time with the kids, and that is the bulk of the movie.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really happen nowadays.
Right.
Like, we got to like spend time with these kids, and we got to see like Scotty's home life and him kind of grow over the course of the summer, right? And it didn't feel rushed to me at all. And it felt strange just because that's not how films are paced nowadays.
Yeah, because I think what you just said would probably be switched to like a montage now. More of that stuff would be montage.
That whole hour would be like 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes.
And I would argue that they would even they would probably expand upon his relationship with his stepfather. Like, that would be one of the more driving forces.
Today, yes.
So one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting about the film is the film is essentially a large flashback, right?
Right.
And I know that's something that you enjoyed as well, if I'm not mistaken in saying that.
Yeah, because flashbacks, it's really tough because they can be done really well or they can be done very badly. And they can be hokey, they can be cheesy, that we can kind of watch a film and then a lot of the times you see a flashback and you're like, what was the point of that?
Sure.
Like, I didn't learn anything. The whole point of a flashback should be to learn new bits of information that also pushes the story forward.
Right.
Which is what we do in this one. I would say the biggest main one is the Myrtle junkyard flashback.
The flashback within the flashback.
The flashback with, Inception.
But I agree with you. I'll let you keep talking on that, but I do want to chime in on something if you don't bring it up.
Right. So I think we were told it, but we were also shown it. And I think that's a big thing that just drives me nuts in films. And they do this all the time. And sometimes you can't avoid this, but it's when you're just told stuff. And it's just like, and it happens a ton in movies nowadays where you're just told things. And some stuff you have to be told to set stuff up. But this was so nice because they easily could have just been standing on the baseball field and Squints could have just been like, oh, that Myrtle guy back in the day. It could have just been a line.
Right, because they were like, don't go over there. And then it could have just been like,
why?
What's wrong?
Exactly.
His dog kills children, eats children, right?
Yeah. But instead,
they set up the campfire scene, which is...
They said camp out, which is cool because they transitioned and they killed two birds with one stone. It shows... It's realistically, when you think about that flashback scene in that treehouse, that is Smalls being accepted. That's like the... What's the word that I'm looking for? Like the...
Oh, God, what is the word?
Not the ritual. That's not the word I'm looking for. But like the induction, the accept. You know what you know what I'm talking about.
He's being inducted into this group. Like
he's part of the group now.
Yeah, you see him. He finally catches the ball because Benny hit a beautiful, perfect right in his glove. And they're like, okay, this kid can play. And then they still sort of tease him a little bit, and you can still feel like he's not meshing. But when they're like, camp out.
Yeah.
And then that is, I agree with you. It's like,
I think they test him too. I think it's all, because the movies are about testing your main, not antagonist, but
protagonist.
Your protagonist. You have to put them up against tests so that they overcome these tests. And not every movie does this, but they change over the course of a film. Like that's kind of why we're watching the movie, is to see the main character come out of the other side heroic and achieving the goal that they have, right? Which Scotty's goal is to his mom sets him up in the beginning, right? Almost kind of gives him a challenge and says, I want you to go out and enjoy the summer, right? That's his challenge. That's his, that's his mission.
Yeah.
And it sets us up for the rest of the movie. And it poses a question in our minds. We go, is he going to achieve the goal or is he going to fail? And that's what propels the story forward. Movies have that, but in a much weaker way. I thought this film just beautifully sets that stuff up, right? And then the pressure of the stepdad, right? That's also on him. The pressure of fitting in. We all relate to that because we were all kids at one point.
Trying to fit in.
Right. And we're trying to fit in.
Whether it's at,
so it's super relatable.
Yeah, whether it's moving or just a new school or just the start of the school year, whatever that looks like, we're all trying to fit in.
We're all trying to fit in.
Yeah.
And I think it does it perfectly. And the treehouse scene is great because it's the whole gang and they are literally testing him. They're being like, go over to the window and, is he, and he's even like, oh, you guys are messing with me. You guys aren't, no, you guys are fooling me.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, go over to the window. And that's I think that's the one test. And then after that, yeah, he's accepted into the group. And
well, you got to make the argument that I guess playing the game of baseball is the test too, right? They laughed him off at his first attempt until Benny, being Benny, another great protagonist in the movie, didn't let him give up, which is really cool.
I think he was, and their friendship was really nice to see.
Yeah. I think, and I could be mistaken, but I believe I read somewhere that they actually had those two actors meet up a couple weeks prior to the rest of the kids. So you can actually feel that, so they became friends first. So the other kids thought they were already friends, in real life.
Oh, well,
right. Because they had them come in previously, to further show that the Benny Smalls dynamic is a little bit stronger than the rest of the dynamics.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's really cool. I didn't know that. That's really awesome.
Because one of my favorite things, and when we were watching it, you're like, you see the flashback and you see Mr. Myrtle, and you're like, that's not even James Earl Jones. That doesn't even look like him.
Right. I was confused there. Yeah.
And then as a kid, I always thought the same thing, but it wasn't until rewatching in my 30s that I was like, well, because right before it, was it Smalls that mentions let's just go knock on his door and ask for the ball back. And they're like, no, you can't do that. No. So these kids have never seen Mr. Myrtle. Myrtle.
Yeah.
So they, what I think is cool is I think they did it purposely, most likely to paint the idea furthermore that the kids are telling this narrative that this is the meanest man in the world, the meanest pup in the world, but they don't actually know what he looks like. So when you finally meet the beast and you meet Mr. Myrtle, they're vastly different from what you expected.
Yeah.
And I didn't really realize that was on purpose until last week when we watched it.
Right. And I didn't realize it until you told me. So I was still in that mindset of
this isn't him.
What is going on? It's a very stylistic flashback. It's very cool the way that they do it. Very almost like newsreel, right? It feels like newsreel footage of a lot of these events that are happening. It's black and white. It's grainy. It's cool editing, cool narrative choice.
Yeah, to
go that route is very cool.
It's always looking back on that film. That's always one of my favorite scenes is the campfire scene because of that, that flashback within the flashback, right? Because the whole film is a flashback.
So one kind of thing that seems to kind of come late in the film, not really late in the film, but we see the dream that Benny has.
Okay,
and I would have liked a little bit more development with Benny and his character. Right, because Benny is almost depicted as this guy who can do no wrong. And then we just kind of get this random, it's not a random scene, it's a very important scene. But all of a sudden he's expressing these doubts in himself. And it's well, where was this? I didn't get any sense of doubts. I didn't get any sense. Yeah, right. I didn't get any sense of that at all up until that scene.
Well, because even with the Little League scene, it's Benny, you're the best. We don't need to practice or whatever it is. He's always been told he's the best. That would have been a good time to somehow insert a little bit of self-doubt, somehow show self-doubt.
Right.
With Benny. I get what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. And when he breaks the ball, it's I don't know. And also too, it's I don't know how, that's a fun moment, but it's is that possible? Could a kid really have done that?
That's the suspension of disbelief. And as a kid who grew up playing baseball,
Right.
like
Matt played baseball, by the way.
I played baseball too. To knock the stuffing out of the ball, it's kind of like, that's just a saying. But I think the idea was to further put out like that. There's the bad omen, like first pitch of the day. I think it was the first pitch of that day. Or whatever.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and then
it's like
it led
you
into
immediately
the ball.
can't play because
Getting the
knocked
Babe
the
Ruth
stuff.
thing.
Again, I don't want to say this is something I didn't like, because I don't want to take away from the childhood nostalgia of it. It's just watching it as an adult, I'm like, some of the scenes were pointless to the story, like admittedly, right? Like we didn't need to see Wendy. I'm gonna say her last name wrong.
Peppercorn, yeah.
Right? I always thought it was Peppercorn. Like we didn't need to necessarily see the pool scene.
No, not at all.
We didn't need to even see the Little League scene because, like, it's not like those Little Leaguers came by previously and antagonized them throughout the film.
It's not like there's some other big rematch game that they need to play that they need a ball for.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, lint liquor, and you play ball like a girl. And then all of a sudden it's like our field. And then they just get, they demolish the Little League team. But, it just further shows they're good ball players, but in terms of the ultimate thing you remember, hitting the ball with their fence and retrieving it, was it necessary? So I guess if I had to nitpick a couple things, for me, it's probably like some of these little scenes that weren't necessarily necessary, but I also don't want to say that because like they're just iconic in their own right.
Yeah, they're nice scenes, but again, that game could have been another way to put doubt into Benny's mind because who knows? Maybe he used to, we'll pull the Mighty Ducks, and he used to be Adam Banks, where he used to be on that team,
right?
And he left them. Like there could have been that development there too, which I think would have made the scene more relevant than it is.
And it almost makes you wonder if, like, the original draft, maybe there was something tying that Little League better to the original draft.
Yeah,
I'd like to. If you could meet with the director of these things, like it'd be so cool to just bend ears.
Yeah.
Right?
Just be like, wow, yeah. Like in the writing process of some of these films. Yeah. But
yeah. Overall, for me, this film is a big childhood nostalgia. I've said that 1,000 times in this episode. My brothers and I grew up playing baseball. Basically, since we could hold a mitt and throw a ball, we've been playing baseball up until a handful of years ago. But now we switched to old man league softball, right? So like baseball is still very near and dear to us. It's something that will cherish and we'll always have that connection. So for me, a film like this, not only is it a fun film about, at the time, you're watching it as a 10-year-old, 13-year-old. And that's roughly the age they are, whatever. Like you're watching those sort of things and being like, we could be those guys, and you rush outside to play. But it's just, it holds a special spot in my heart. And for me, I felt that the film, it lived up to the nostalgic hype, right? Like sometimes you watch these films, you watch back and you go like,
it held up. Yeah, it was.
What did I like as a kid? This was satisfying as a child, but like it was still an enjoyable thing as an adult.
Yeah.
And even 30 years later, because it's depicting what, like the 60s or 70s or something, 70s, I think.
I think it's the 60s.
Right.
I think it's like 62 or 63.
Yeah. So it's like it's the 90s depicting the 60s, and it still holds up very well to 2023. I think there might have been a couple moments where like, I'm not sure if they can show that anymore these days.
Right.
But overall,
the tobacco and
overall, like this is something that could be remade with ease. I mentioned there was a movie from my childhood that like probably couldn't get remade just because the overall content from start to finish is just like kind of like a no touch subject anymore.
Yeah.
But like this film, like it's kind of how I look at it as a fan. Like it holds up in those aspects that it could be remade and still hold like to its true nature. And just as an adult, it was fun. So that's sort of my final thoughts there. If you're thinking about watching it again, watch it again because it's awesome.
And even if you're, obviously I think what brought us obviously we decided to do these retro reviews, but me being a filmmaker, I'm always intrigued to go back and watch. I'll watch anything realistically, but yeah, you as a baseball fan, that's what attracted you to kind of go back and watch this one. And it kind of fit because we were trying to figure out what movie we wanted to do first. And we feel like the baseball thing, it's nostalgic for you. It's also nostalgic for me in a sense that my stepdad was a sports fan. right, was a baseball player. So he introduced me to the film, and I watched it as a young kid. Not very good at sports, but that's okay. So I watched sports films and stuff and everything. But so it's nostalgic for me too. There's a lot of, I remember, just like how you said you and your brothers would go out and play baseball after watching the movie.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like I'd watch the movie and then like my stepdad and I would go play catch and stuff. And like,
yeah.
So yeah, there are those moments definitely for me too. And it's interesting because we were talking, James was there with us and we were talking about like, when's the last time you saw the movie? And it had been over a decade for not James, right?
I think he said like 3 or 4 years, but for you and I, it was probably close to a decade.
It was over a decade.
Yeah, I would imagine it was over a decade.
It's interesting because I think, when you were just talking, I thought about, I'm like, when's the next time I'm going to actually sit down and watch that movie again? And I think that's going to happen a lot with these reviews, is I think we're going to watch the movies and I'm always going to be like, when's the next time I'm going to actually sit down and watch this again?
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me sad because I'm like, it's probably not going to be for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to happen a lot with these reviews, but I'm glad that we did it. I'm glad that we actually sat down and watched something from our past. It's sad that because that's a really good movie. I had a really fun time with it.
I think for my issue with, not my issue, the reason why I don't go and watch those things is probably streaming. Because how many times when we were kids were we flipping through the channels like, oh my God, it's Sandlot. Like I'll watch it from 20 minutes in, half an hour in.
Yeah.
Now it's like you're going to pick something from scratch. And if it's not on one of your first go-to streaming services, you're right, I'm not going to rewatch it. So hopefully I'm having a kid soon. Hopefully in the next handful of years, they're into baseball and maybe I can pass the torch.
Yeah.
And because I can imagine if it's holding up this long, it's probably going to hold up forever. Right?
I'm sure. Yeah.
It'll be kind of cool to introduce to the new generation of. One thing we haven't gotten to yet is when we finally do see the ball launch over and Smalls freaks out. You don't understand. Yeah. And it's like, dude, it's okay. We'll just get another one.
We'll get another ball. Yeah.
Which is really quick, I think funny because they gave Porter crap for busting hitting a home run. Yeah. But then Smalls is like, granted, it's his first home run and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then when he does it, they're like, we'll just get another one tomorrow. And then it's just like,
yeah.
If you get it tomorrow, why can't you get it today? But besides the point. So he finally goes, you can't. We got to get that ball. You don't understand. Some lady, Baby Ruth, signed it. And
yeah.
Like, Baby Ruth.
Baby Ruth.
And then,
I love those moments where they say, all the kids say the same lines on cue together.
Yeah.
That's great. That happens a couple times in the film and it's just, those are fun moments.
Yeah. Another one of my favorite things, just a side note, is the brother and the little brother, because it's like the class is a clout. The class is a clout. Like he just repeats his brother. But yeah, so then we just see them launch into not just a series of complex or increasingly more complex attempts to get back the ball.
Yeah, it's like it's the montage sequence. Yeah,
it's sort of, but it's not really montage, is it? Because it's not it's not over music or anything.
There's music in there.
Yeah, I guess it is montage. Yeah,
it's like dun, 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 dun. Yeah. There's Do
you have a favorite trap?
Probably when they throw over the fence.
Okay,
and he's face to face with the dog for the first time.
Yeah.
I think that he's like, I love that. He can't talk.
Yeah.
And it's just a normal dog.
Yeah.
It's just it's not a beast.
You know what's funny is this movie made it put mastiffs on my dream dog list.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because they're just so beautiful. Probably my favorite trap is. I kind of like the catapult one. I think that one's cool. Because you get to see Smalls is I'm this nerd, but I don't want to be this nerd anymore. I want to go play baseball with the guys. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, all right, hold on. Let me just go back to my roots really quick and build this extremely crazy contraption.
It shows his ingenuity and him helping. It's pretty.
I do think it's interesting, though, because one of my favorite quotes, I shouldn't say favorite quote, but something I find myself quoting a lot, just joking around playing video games with the guys, is I think Timmy's the guy's name, the older brother. But he's it's after they do the suction cup one, right? Mm-hmm. And then the vacuums blow up. He's covered in dust, and he goes, "An aerial attack. the beast will never see it coming. Like I quote that all the time when we jokingly try to do stuff.
Oh, nice.
But I just like, it wasn't until I watched it, I was like, they literally just tried an aerial attack, right? Like, what's the difference between lowering Yaya over versus going up and over with a vacuum?
There is.
I was like, that was like a plot hole. And I'm not usually a plot hole guy. Like I just like let it live and let die.
Right.
But I was just like, they literally just did an aerial attack. What do you mean the beast will never see it coming? I don't know why I thought that.
That's just kids being kids. But wait, going back to the Yaya one, it's like he could have easily just thrown the ball,
grabbed it and thrown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like it's more of the suspension of disbelief, right? We kind of just have to accept it, but it's like you could have just done this.
I do remember though, as a kid, just throughout my whole life, just always going like, why did it take so long to like catapult it, or why did they just like why did he drop it? Like you were already there,
right? It does build that. It succeeds in that way of getting. I remember that too. Yeah, as a kid, you're just like because you think each time is going to be successful, and you're like why did this not happen? Yeah, it kind of makes your blood boil as a child.
And then dream sequence, and it's like I just gotta jump the fence and run and get it.
Jump the fence and run.
What is your thoughts of that?
That whole sequence,
like the chase scene, because there's certain elements I thought was pretty cool.
It was cool, but
you're not in love with it.
I don't know. It was fine, but it was like, was it necessary? I mean, it was interesting, but they go all the way back around. It's like, because they got to get the beast home, I guess. Right? Isn't that the whole point? Right? He's running, but then he circles back and goes all the way back.
Yeah, and I think that is the idea was like, okay, I'm gonna like maybe fake hopping over the fence or bring the beast back into the yard. I don't know why. I think the chase scene was just there to add extra action and suspense.
Yes, for sure.
And then you needed a reason, I guess, for like how we're gonna make how can we do something cool? Let the fence fall on the beast, and then save them. And realize foes become friends type of thing.
Right. I loved that. It was kind of strange that we had to go through the whole chase to get back to it.
But like, would it have felt like the same film if he like hopped the fence and then as he's jumping, he causes it to fall on the beast?
No.
Like, you get the mommy big dog. Like,
yeah, those are
and I did like the you're on through a movie theater and what's playing? Wolfman's playing because he's being chased by a dog.
Right. Yeah. It was a fun sequence. It seems strange.
Sure.
And narratively, it's like,
this is probably where like the pro versus the novice probably we differ a little bit, because I really enjoyed the scene and I liked it.
I mean,
no, you liked it. I'm not saying
I did. And you're totally right. As an editor, if I'm editing this film, I'm definitely looking at that part of the movie and being like, But I would assume with the footage that I have, there's really no way to cut around that. You have to go through that chase because he runs back into the field and jumps back over the fence. So narratively, like, you can't take that out of the film at all. So it has to live there. But I definitely, if I'm editing, I'm going, this really could just be cut out. It can't. You have to leave it in for the story, or else it's not going to make any sense.
Sure.
But even in the script, I would have read the script and been like, what?
Before we move along, have you seen the sequels?
I've seen the second one.
I saw the second one.
Did not see the third one.
As a kid, my brother and I, we watched it a handful of times. Because if you don't know, the plot to that one's essentially a nerdy kid. I think it's Smalls' son, like shoots a rocket over there that he needs to retrieve. So it's not a ball anymore; it's a rocket.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's like far less baseball in it.
Yeah,
like so it's like you shouldn't really use the Sandlot. You should call it the playground. And then if I remember correctly, and I don't want to bash it too much because it's been years and it's not fair to do that, but it was just basically like, let's take the story and copy it as much as we can.
Oh yeah,
it was
close. Yeah.
So because of that, I haven't seen 3. I didn't care to watch 3, but
I don't know. 3's on Disney Plus.
So, but yeah, I might search for Sandlot 2 to watch it to see how that holds up on my own, and then maybe
that may be one we have to. We might have to We might have to watch that one too.
Maybe that's how we kick off next summer's episode, as we do Sandlot 2.
That would be fun. That would be a really fun thing to do for kind of the anniversary of this show.
Well, and
but
I didn't
also
even think about it. Like Sandlot, like is a perfect choice because we're dropping this in June, like the start of summer. Like this is the perfect summer film.
Well, thank you guys. I think that's going to be the end of the review. If you can leave a comment down below if you've seen The Sandlot. If you haven't seen it in a long time, let us know what you think in the comments down below. Hit that like button and please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. I know I said it like that, but I'm just going to keep it. So you can be notified when we drop these reviews. Every month it's happening. Matt, I had a great time talking about The Sandlot with you. Thanks for doing the show with me, man. I'm really excited for the reviews to come.
Dude, thank you for having me. I'm stoked about it. Certainly different from what I'm used to doing. So, guys, like you said, subscribe, like, share, all that. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, guys. Well, thank you, guys. I think that's going to be the end of the review. If you can leave a comment down below if you've seen The Sandlot. If you haven't seen it in a long time, let us know what you think in the comments down below. Hit that like button and please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. I know I said it like that, but I'm just going to keep it. So you can be notified when we drop these reviews. Every month it's happening. Matt, I had a great time talking about The Sandlot with you. Thanks for doing the show with me, man. I'm really excited for the reviews to come.
Dude, thank you for having me. I'm stoked about it. Certainly different from what I'm used to doing. So, guys, like you said, subscribe, like, share, all that. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, guys.